Hey everyone, do you know that almost 60% of the organizations in the world are migrating the way how their WAN networks are managed from traditional way of managing the networks to SDN way of managing networks. And it is pretty important nowadays that you as a network engineer should really learn how this new way of managing WAN infrastructure really looks like. So welcome back everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about how SD-WAN solution really brings up the benefits on the table and why is it really a deal breaker for organizations to start implementing and start managing their WAN infrastructure with the help of this solution.
If you enjoyed the content of the video, don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe to our channel.
You see, when we look at the SD-WAN solution, then we have some of the most important features that it brings on the table, and then we have we can achieve some, you can say, benefits on the way how the networks are implemented. One of the most important things of how WAN networks really works is managing different sites, right? So if I give an example that we have an organization A whose network looks like this, that you have your WAN edge number 1, and then let's say this is situated in Dubai, right? And then we have another site where we have WAN edge number 2, and that particular WAN edge 2 is situated, let's say, in London. And these are two geographically dispersed sites, and each site has their own LAN infrastructure. Now the LAN infrastructure can be as complex as you want, right? But let's say we have a couple of LAN segments here and a couple of LAN segments there. The LAN segments are connected to router 11 and router 12, right? And over there on the other side, we have router 21 and router 22. And definitely these LAN segments are going to have their prefixes, their own prefixes. So maybe we have 192.168.11.0 and 192.168.12.0. And on the other side, we have 192.168.21.0 and 192.168.22.0. Now, in order for your normal operations to function for the organization would definitely want to establish a secure way of how communications can go from 11.0 to maybe 21.0, and how communications can go from 12.0 all the way to the other side to 22.0, right? So in order to achieve this, number one is the organization can lay its own cabling infrastructure and really connect the Dubai site with London site, and that is going to be very, very expensive. And that's why the organizations go to service providers and they take their help in order to achieve the connectivity between these two sites. So let's say I go to an ISP, and that particular ISP provides me the connectivity in order to connect both of these sites. So the ISP, right, has its provider edge devices. So let's say this is your provider edge 1, and that is going to be your provider edge 2. The customer edge device is going to connect from here to here and from here to here, right? And then internally the provider is going to have their own infrastructure. So we have like P1, then we have P2, then we have P3, and then we have P4, and they all are connected in this fashion, right? So we have the ISP infrastructure, and then we also have redundancy in the ISP infrastructure. So whenever the traffic goes from here to the provider edge, then the provider edge's infrastructure can choose whether to forward the traffic this way, whether to forward the traffic the other way, or whether to forward the traffic using some other way available over there, right? Depending on the availability. In order for having this connectivity between our two sites, the organization is definitely going to be paying and subscribing to the plans that the service provider has. Now, number one, we have the connectivity. Number two, we also want security. So when you look at some of the top features or top priorities that an organization can have in order to manage their WAN infrastructure is automation, right? We'll talk about automation a bit, but then the second most important thing is security. Since the organization is going to use a transport that might also serve to other customers, right? For example, you're not the only one who's going to subscribe for the infrastructure uses of that service provider. The service provider is going to have a lot of other customers who's going to consume the same transport for communicating from maybe Dubai to London, right? And this is where security comes into picture. So when the organization is going to use the public transport, it is also going to demand security from the service provider, so that the data that is sent from one site to the other site securely encapsulates over the transport, over the transit. And this is where expensive ISP solution comes into picture. So one is you can subscribe to commodity internet circuits, right? And second is you can subscribe to expensive solution like MPLS. And when you subscribe to expensive solutions like MPLS, what the service provider is going to provide you is it will provide you the PE to PE L3 VPN tunnels. And these VPN tunnels will allow your traffic to be encapsulated in a secure tunnel and then get delivered to the other site, right? And this is exactly why the solution is expensive, because the service provider deploys powerful infrastructure which is expensive for them, and then it provides that service expensive to you as well. The cost is definitely going to be passed on to the end customer, right? So the organizations nowadays are looking forward to bring down the cost that they have to bear for equipping the MPLS solutions in their way. And the SD-WAN allows you to bring down this particular cost. Now, how? So number one is it provides you some of the strong features. One is automation, like I talked about. Whenever an organization looks forward to onboard a new site or to deploy a new site, then the organization have to ship the infrastructure to that particular physical location. The organization also have to ship their employees or ship their engineers or technicians who are gonna be responsible for onboarding the WAN infrastructure or the connectivity of that site. So maybe you're gonna deploy, you as a network engineer are gonna deploy the WAN edge devices, the iOS XC or XR devices on your enterprise network on the border. And then you're going to take care of onboarding the device, doing the day zero configuration, day one configuration, deploying the policies and everything that you need to bring up the communication of that particular site, right? Second, you also need someone to actually implement the security, because whenever you're going to subscribe to an expensive solution like MPLS, the service provider is going to take care of the cost. I mean, it's going to take care of the encapsulation and the security. But when you're not going to subscribe for the expensive solution, and let's say you're subscribing to the commodity internet circuit, then you or your network engineers on your behalf are going to implement secure ways of establishing tunnel communication between the sites. And this is gonna be done over IPsec. So your network engineers would be required to configure IPsec on this end and IPsec on the other end. And most of the time, organizations do face downtime in their networks or in between their sites because there are some misconfigurations. And you as an organization would end up involving the technical assistance center, maybe of Cisco or maybe of some other organization, right? So you involve the TAC and you involve the NOC by raising a ticket with your vendor, and then that particular vendor gives you the solution that what has went wrong, right? So SD-WAN as a solution provides you automation, and this automation, which is the most important feature that the solution brings on the table. This automation helps you to onboard your WAN edge devices and deploy the tunneled encapsulation over any transport automatically, which means that the technician, when you ship your hardware to that particular site, you only need to connect that hardware to the internet with the help of the provider edge connectivity of your transport, And irrespective of whether you are using commodity internet circuit or whether you're using MPLS circuit, right, you're going to have the same level of security, because these customer premises edge will automatically be forming the IPsec tunnels, right, between their transports, irrespective of whether it's commodity or MPLS circuit. So you don't really need to rely on an expensive solution like MPLS provided by your service provider, right? Even if the transport that you're subscribed for is cheaper, let's say it's cost effective for you, right? And that's commodity internet circuit, your WAN edges are automatically going to form the IPsec tunnels within themselves. And since the IPsec tunnels will automatically be formed, it will bring down the cost, it will bring down the manpower that is required to implement the day 0 and day 1 operations, and it will also provide you the same level of security which you can have over MPLS. However, it is true that the quality of transport might not be that good as of your MPLS solution, but for your delivery sensitive data like TCP traffic, you can obviously depend and forward your delivery sensitive data over those connections, and you can bring down your cost by only subscribing to expensive solution like MPLS for the latency sensitive data like voice and video, right? This is where automation helps you. And since the sites are automatically going to form their IPsec tunnels like between the sites, irrespective of whether it is the commodity internet circuit or it is the MPLS circuit, right, you are also achieving security. And all of these whatever communications are happening from this side to the other side, it is all tracked, because the SD-WAN solution has a suite of controllers which allows you to track your communications and track your application traffic between the sites. So there is a suite of SDN controllers which comes on the board. For example, this is where you have your manager, then you have your controller, and then you have your validator. Right. So in the earlier versions of the solution, these controllers were known as vManager, vBond, and vSmart, right? But nowadays, since Cisco have rebranded their solution to Catalyst SD-WAN instead of Viptela SD-WAN, the controllers are known as manager, controller, and validator, which are similar to manager or vManager, vSmart, and vBond, right? So all these controllers are also connected to the service provider network, right? And whatever communications or whatever route updates or whatever IPsec key negotiations or whatever policy implementation happens, that has to be done directly on the controller itself, and controller will deploy the necessary configuration to your WAN edge devices. So you sitting over here, right, as an admin, you are not going to directly communicate. You're not going to directly communicate with your WAN infrastructure at all. No, you are only going to communicate with your controllers, and the controllers are going to communicate with the infrastructure that you have, right? So in the SDN world, this communication is known as northbound communication. And whatever this communication happens is known as southbound communication. So the communication between you and the controllers would be known as northbound, and the communication between the controllers and the infrastructure is going to be known as southbound. And because everything, every configuration update, every route update, every policy change is done via the controllers provide you visibility of what's happening. So if there is a WAN edge which has gone down, you will be seeing that on the GUI of your vManager. If there is any health issues on your devices, you will get to know that. If there are any IPsec tunnels between your WAN sites which are down, you will get to know that, right? And you will exactly get to know which is the device that exactly has this problem, right? So this is what the visibility brings on the table. And then because of the virtualization and virtualized capabilities, right, you can also deploy your controllers. You can also deploy your controllers on the cloud or on the premises, right? So that also provides you flexibility, right, of how your infrastructure needs to be deployed. Do you want to actually take care of the capital expense and the operational expense that you need to maintain your controller side or your WAN edge sides, or do you want to rely onto the cloud service providers so that they can take care of the availability of your site or of your controllers, right? So you also have cloud integration option available, and these 4 features plays a very vital role in transitioning how your WAN infrastructure is managed nowadays. And the benefits that they bring on the table is definitely cost effectiveness, because you are depending less on your expensive service provider solutions. You can subscribe to commodity internet circuits now, right, and only rely on MPLS fabric for your latency sensitive data. Then you have reduced downtime, right, because you have better visibility and you can take proactive steps. For example, let's say you can implement something where if the utilization of the bandwidth crosses a threshold of maybe 70% or 80%, then there should be a policy change and the traffic should be diverted from one side to the other side, or from one transport to the other transport, right? So that can give you reduced downtime. And then you have better visibility, of course, better application visibility. You exactly know that what application is exactly being consumed a lot between the sites, and do you want to dedicate a specialized transport, or do you want to dedicate some path changes for that communication which is happening around the network. So these are some of the benefits that pretty much changes the way how the WAN infrastructures are deployed nowadays. And to wrap things up, what you can say is we've talked about some of the most critical aspects of SD-WAN in this particular video today. So from the challenges with traditional WAN solutions to the expert keywords or to the expert features that can help you master this particular technology, understanding these concepts are pretty important nowadays. Almost every network engineer is expected to know how an SD-WAN solution really works. And remember, it's not just about implementing SD-WAN, right? It's also about leveraging it to its full potential. So what do you think about SD-WAN, right? If you had any experiences with it, drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet, to know more about the you can say technologies and the talks that we do. We're going to come up with tons of technological video at PyNet Labs, and since all of these discussions are going to help you get familiarized with the cutting edge technologies now the world is coming up with. I hope you enjoy this particular video, and thanks for watching. See you next time. Take care. Bye bye.